Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Leilui nishmat Morosi Rusbas Mordechai. Today's shir is being sponsored by a very, very choshev yid, Dovid Adress. In the Zechus, listen to this. Again, going back to Chesed. Here's a person who wrote a song, 2 songs, spent who knows how much time and effort. Yishkoyach. Boruch Nosson. So he's sponsoring in the Zechus of one of my friends who recently lost his job. If anyone knows of any controller, CFO jobs, no, don't we have something here? MDY. Gary, you want to give up your position? CFO jobs with healthcare experience. Please let me know and I will pass along. Rabbi say try to help him out. What? For healthcare? Okay. Great. Sponsored by the MDY Family, leilui nishmat Yerachmiel, Olav Shalom, Ben Yibal Chaim, Rabbi Yisroel. Leilui nishmat Yehoshua, Ben Boruch Nosson, nishmat should have an aliyah. I got a text message last night by a very, very good friend of the shir. He is putting up $5,000 to put a permanent plaque in the Beis Medrash, leilui nishmat Yerachmiel, Ben Rabbi Yisroel. And he also said he would like it to say Dr. Epstein's wife, Rita. So I already have $10,000 for this plaque. If anybody wants to be mitzaref and have their name permanently in the Beis Medrash, leilui nishmas, Yerachmiel, and Rita, there's a $1,000 minimum. If anybody wants to, there's somebody in Muncie that donated money and he's willing to match. We have to make something permanent in the Beis Medrash. It's a great idea. He already put the money in. It's already wired. So, Yishkoyach, Mr. Anonymous from California. Today's Daf is being sponsored by Yisroel Ausfresser, leilui nishmas, Yehiel Tzvi ben Moshe Ari Alever, Zechus Levracha, giving Zechus Levracha, my grandfather, Zayin Nun. What does Zayin Nun stand for? Zechus Neshama. Giving my Zechus Neshama, my grandfather, was a European Yid living in America. He didn't speak English, but Baruch Hashem built a successful business. That's what it takes. No English, no college. Those are the guys who are successful in New York. However, his whole life was focused around learning Torah. That's why he was successful. He woke up around 3 a.m. to learn, went to work, came home, and went back to learn. He should be a Melitz Yoshua and his family and the whole Klal Yisrael. Sounds like an amazing Yid. Here's an email real quickly from Mike. Refuah Shlema to Bastian from, how do you pronounce? Bazisel. She's having a procedure today. She should have her full shlema. Michael Mann from Toronto, Canada. He says he's a friend with a bunch of the guys here. Lauren Spiegelman, Hill Kamiansky, Mati Milnerdorf. Long-time listener, first-time emailer. I cannot thank you and your team enough for making your Daf Yomi share available on YouTube, Zoom, and all other online outlets which allow individuals like myself to partake. I'm sure my story is not very different than many of your other Hasidim. Oy Vezmir. Around the world, but I felt I need to email you. After all, through all your efforts and trips to IKEA. He's talking about Yosef, not even me. Baruch Hashem. Yosef has Hasidim and all his trips to IKEA. You all deserve to shep a little nachas, more nachas, knowing you have affected and changed the learning of yet another person. I was introduced to you via the 8-minute Daf video. As Corona began to affect my morning schedule, I couldn't make it to the shir Daf. I began to turn your shir on YouTube, the full shir. At first, I watched on high speed. And by skipping over the dedications and the emails, Rahman al-Itzlan, but then he did tshuva. For whatever reason, one day I decided to slow the playback speed down. We were just discussing this yesterday. I had a chakira. If a guy brings somebody to learn Torah for an hour, he gets a pyramid dream, not scheme, a pyramid dream. If you encourage somebody to learn Torah for an hour, you get part of that Zechus. So what happens if he takes that hour and plays it back at 1.5 speed? Do you lose from the hour? Because he only listened to 45 minutes. So I had a chakira here. So he says, listen, I used to do full 1.5 speed. I took it down. So now I don't have a shiloh with him. I get the full schar. As well as we see the pre-share messages were all about. What happened there? I forgot. For whatever reason, one day I decided to slow this video as well and see what the pre-share messages were all. So there's people that didn't even look. They just skipped the whole thing. It's one thing if you listen to it and you don't like it and then you skip. He didn't even give it a shot. I'm proud to say that since the start of Pesachim, I've been a full-fledged chassid of yours. You hear, Yosef? Watching from your Good Morning Vietnam, Rabbi Isai, to the end of Shir Malois. I've come to appreciate everything about your shir and actually very much look forward to sitting down to learn with you each and every morning. You hear this, Yaakov? He appreciates everything, the emails, the whole thing. In addition, the 8-minute Daf podcast works perfectly with my 8-minute walk to shul for Mincha Ma'ariv. Between watching and listening to the two, my learning and my understanding of the Daf has been elevated to the next level, a level I've not seen in many years. Unfortunately, I'm on the East Coast, and because of time difference, I have not yet had the opportunity to join you live on Zoom when Corona is a thing of the past. It is in New York, in Borough Park, it's past. Or better yet, when Mashiach finally comes, I hope to meet and learn with you. With you, Lauren Spiegelman, Hil Kamiansky, Mati Mildorf, and the rest of the MDY family in person in your beautiful new Beis Medrash, Michael Mann, Toronto, Canada, Shkoyach. Oh, wow, we're late. Rabbi Isai, I almost forgot this. This is very important. Back to the kayak. I didn't explain. I asked the question yesterday. I forgot to say the answer. What is this lime? Here it is. Here's the kid with Kriya, by the way. His shirt is ripped. Rahman al-Islam. Here's his kayak in his backyard, wrapped in a thing. Massive. It's wider than the one I showed you yesterday. So what's the connection between this kayak and Torah? In fact, I received numerous emails. I didn't even say the answer. People want to be connected to a chabur like this and learn Torah because of all the chesed that's going on here. So when you do chesed here, it has an effect in South Africa. Somebody there is learning Torah with a bigger geschmack and a bigger thing. Okay, fine. This will be for tomorrow. Now, sorry. Yesterday, after on Zoom, Yisroel Goldstein told me a very interesting thing. I'm not sure. I don't know how authentic it is, but this is what he says, and you could look into it. He says his father's mechutin wrote a kuntras called Shitas HaShilov. And this individual learned Masechtas Pesachim 1,500 times. 1,500 times. He used to do Shas twice a year. And he said that the entire Shas is in our Masechta Pesachim. It goes through all the sugs of Shas. That's what this guy said, this Talmud Chacham. Anyway, today we're going to be learning these concepts. They seem scary, but they're not. They're very simple concepts. But the good thing is, once you get to know them, you could go to your friends and show off a little bit and throw them out and scare him. It's geschmack. Is heter mitzdaref le'isur? If you have a piece of, let's say, chametz, a half a piece of chametz and a half a piece of matzah, is it as if you ate a full piece of chametz on Pesach? Tam ki'ikr, flavor in food is as if you're eating the food itself that's asur. That's all. So if you put grapes into water and the water changes flavor slightly, then the water becomes asur for the nazir. And then noisen tam levgam is if you have a pot that has, let's say, PIG in it. You bought it from a guy. It has mamish treifus in it. After a day, or even that day, the flavor that it imparts to your food that you cook is levgam. It's disgusting. It's the terrible flavor, so maybe it's not asur. Nice and tam levgam. These are the things that we're going to be touching upon today. We're holding Daf Yomi Amud Beis on the bottom. 5 lines from the bottom. Omer Bavo, Omer Rabbi Yochanan. Says Rabbi Yochanan, Kol isurim shabbat Torah ein heter mitzdaref le'isur. If you take a half a piece of chaylev, a half a piece of a dead animal in a vela, a half a kazayis piece, call it a kazayis, a half a kazayis, which is half of the shear, and you take a nice kosher steak, and you put them together and you eat them, you didn't eat a nevela, you ate a half a kazayis in a nevela. So ein heter mitzdaref le'isur, they don't combine. Chutz, but there are a few chutzim here. Chutz, besides, misuri nazir. A nazir is not allowed to drink wine or eat grapes. Sharei omra Torah mishras. Mishras means soaked, infused. So here goes. Miyayim v'sheicher yazir. Stay away from wine. V'choymetz yayim v'choymetz sheicher lo yishtei. Shouldn't drink it. V'chol mishras hanavim. What's this extra mishras hanavim? Soaking, to teach us that if you have something that's less than a kazayis of bread, let's say, and you put the 2 grapes that are also for a nazir, but they obviously don't have a kazayis, together we have a kazayis, and a nazir eats the bread, and the grapes together, he's over. The grapes are not in the bread. They're separated. He's as if he ate a full kazayis of grapes. I'll take a piece of regular bread. It's a tremendous chiddush. One of the most fascinating chiddushim, I said it at least once, is the same idea that we're going to have in a second for the mitzvah of matzah. Just this is for the next piece. I'm skipping ahead. But pretend this is made out of rice, which you cannot make a matzah out of rice. And here's a half a kazayis of matzah. If I take these two and put them together, the Mishnah and Chal and Peri Gimel tells me I'm yoytzeh mitzvahs matzah. I ate a kazayis of matzah, but I didn't eat a kazayis of matzah. The same idea over here. I didn't eat a kazayis of grapes. I'm a nazar. I'm not allowed to eat a kazayis of grapes. But together with the bread, which is mutter for a nazar to eat, it's a kazayis. This achila that I just had was a full kazayis. Osir 100%, you get malchus. Says the Gemara, Shariyav Mishras, Uziri Amar, Af Sa'or Bal Taktiru. So yesterday we had that you're not allowed to bring on the Mizbeach any chametz, even on Chanukah, even on Sukkot. You're not allowed to put chametz on the Mizbeach. And the pasuk says kol. So yesterday we learned kol means even a half a kazayis. Zeiri is learning it very differently. Zeiri is learning it this case, right over here. He put a half of kazayis of chametz together with a half a kazayis of matzah. Together, that's usher to put on the Mizbeach. What if you only put the half a kazayis bread on the Mizbeach? You're not over, according to Ziri. It's the same drasha that we had yesterday. Yesterday we were learning it like a baya, like this. A half a kazayis on the Mizbeach, usher. It doesn't matter how much you put on the Mizbeach, a little bit, a lot of bit, a full kazayis, half kazayis. Now he's saying no. It must be a kazayis, but how do I get to kazayis? With a trick. It's not a full-fledged kazayis of chametz. It's only a half a kazayis of chametz, but a half a kazayis of matzah. This matzah throws it over the edge and it makes it a usher. Tremendous chiddush. Kiman, ki Rebbe Lezer Darish calls. Yesterday we had this Rebbe Lezer, the Darshans call to say, Taroiv is chametz, he Darshans call, Chacham don't Darshan call. Rebbe Lezer had two different drushes, two different psukim. It says call. Yehoshua asked the Gemara, Le'yin chametz bePesach nami. So according to this should be also a half a piece of chametz, or a half a kazayis of chametz, and a half a kazayis of matzah together should be mitzaref to one full kazayis of chametz. Should be also on Pesach, not only for the Mizbeach, but on Pesach too. Ein ochinami, daf mem dalet Amud Aleph on the top. Yeah, because Rebbe Eliezer learns that Taroiv is chametz, you're chayev what? A lav, not a karas, lav. So for the same idea, you should say you should be chayev. Ein ochinami, la puke midabayo. You're right. When Zeiri said Nazir, he only came to exclude this little piece of Abaya. He agrees that when it comes to chametz, the tziruf is 100% awesome. What he wanted to say is, don't think that the halach is like Abaya. That what does Abaya say? Like we explained the Gemara yesterday. Abaya says, all you need is half of a kazayis to go on the mizbeach. Forget about the matzah. That alone, you'll be over on sa'or bal taktiru. Whatever the lashon of the pasuk is, that's how the Gemara says the lashon, not the exact. So whatever you put this, when you put a half a kazayis on, I want to tell you that Allah is not like a baya. You have to add a half a kazayis of good stuff, of matzah, in order to make it a full kazayis, and then when you put on the mizbeach, you're over the iser. Komash malon daktorah lav lepochais mikazayis. Zog the Gemara. Yosef Ravdimi v'ka Omer lo lahashmaitza. He said over Rabbi Yochanan. What does Rabbi Yochanan say? That heter does not combine with the Isser for anything in the Torah besides one thing called a Nazir. Omer le Abai le Rav Dimi. Abai said, "B'chol yisum she'Torah ein heter mitzaref le'Isser." You tell me only one place, just Nazirus. What now? We learned in the Mishnah, Hamikpa shel Truma. I brought a blender here. I was going to make a whole mikpah and a whole smoothie. I had a whole plan. Whatever, for a different time. There's enough going on here that we don't need smoothies today. Bam, it's here. Here's the blender. It's right here. Massive blender. You want the smoothie. You want the smoothie. Okay, different time. Hamikpa wasn't sonageh to the sugya. It made a lot of noise and it was going to be geshmak, but it wasn't sonageh. Hamikpa shel truma v'hashum v'hashemen. So you have like a smoothie, daisa, some sort of oatmeal, thick consistency, which is truma. So we have two cases that are the reverse of each other. One is that the main smoothie is truma. And then you add shum, garlic. I was going to add the garlic, and I was going to add the oil, and I was going to drink it. It was going to be geshmak. It's too much. V'hashemen shel chulin. And oil. V'noga tful yom b'miktasan. And a tful yom, we know what a tful yom is. Somebody that was tamei, and he went to the mikvah at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and he comes out of the mikvah, he reduced his tumah almost completely, but he still has to wait until sundown. From the time that he came out of the mikvah till sundown, the only thing that he could do wrong really is truma. Touching truma, he'll passel truma. So he comes along and touches the smoothie. V'noga tful yom b'miktasan. He put his finger in the smoothie. What happens? The whole smoothie is tamei. Pasal is kulan. Why? Because the whole smoothie is attached to each other. It's all truma, it's pasal. There's a little bit of garlic in there. That's not. Who cares? The garlic's batal b'roy, shalom Yisrael. What about the reverse? Hamikva shel chulin. The whole smoothie is mutter for everybody. It's chulin. It's good for Yisrael. However, hashum v'hashemen, the thing that makes the smoothie geshmak, gives it that oomph, the garlic. You ever had a smoothie, a strawberry, blueberry smoothie with garlic? Ein l'shayr v'ein l'tayr. And you throw in a little bit of canola oil in there. V'hashum v'hashemen shel truma. And you can't even see it. It's blended up in the blender. You don't know where the garlic is. So if I were to touch one piece of my smoothie, how much garlic did I touch? A fraction of whatever it is. It blended it up. You should see my blender. I have one of those crazy blenders. It makes noise. You can't even believe. You can take a thing, you put in a strawberry, you'll never see a seed. It could cut the seed, it says, into 100 pieces. So you'll never see the garlic. V'noga tful yom b'miktasan comes along. Listen to this halacha. It's not like you think it is. It's not the reverse in halacha. Comes at tful yom, he went to the mikvah, now he's waiting for the sun to go down, and he touches the smoothie, which is basically chulin. And what should happen if you have a giant smoothie with a tiny piece of garlic? The garlic, which is truma, should be batal b'roiv, but it should be batal in 100, right? It's batal. V'noga tful yom b'miktasan loy pasal ela mokoy magoy bevad. Wow, this is a big chiddush. We don't say that it's completely batal. We say that whatever he touched, wherever his finger went in, you got to take a spoon and take out that part of the smoothie, throw it out. You can't use it. And we ask, mokoy magoy amay psula. Why? It's not nicker. The garlic should be batal b'roiv. If this Yisrael would eat a full kazayis of this garlic, which is truma, he gets malchus. So therefore, we have to take some of this smoothie out. It's not batal. It's pshat. Hey chidami. Says the Gemara, but if you think about it, how much garlic is in what he tasted? Nothing. 1,000th of a milliliter, whatever it is, nothing. So where's the kazayis? Where did he eat a kazayis? He ate a kazayis. The Gemara is telling us if he ate a kazayis of the smoothie, he gets malchus. But in the kazayis of a smoothie, 99% of it is strawberries and blueberries, and some people put bananas, not me, and a lot of sugar and all the stuff. And there's 1% garlic in that kazayis. So why is he getting malchus? You know what the answer is? Mishum dehetim mitzaref l'isser. So over here, as Gabaya, you see the idea of heter mitzaref l'isser. 99% of the kazayis is strawberries, and 1% is garlic. You get malchus on it. Why? Because it says if you ate a whole kazayis of garlic, which is truma. So you see the idea of tziruf, even in a smoothie, not just by a nazar. Even in truma. No, but that's a thing. We're going to get to taste a little bit, but yeah, Rashi talks. No, we're not at that point. So as the Gemara, loi, my kezayis, the ik kezayis b'chdei achilas pras. Says the Gemara, you know when he gets malchus? Only in one case. If he eats the entire smoothie, because in the entire smoothie is one full kazayis of garlic. So what is he telling me? Okay, so he had a whole kazayis of garlic, so who cares if he made it in a smoothie? Because he has to eat it really quick. He only could eat it if he eats it over a period of 15 minutes, he's not chayiv. He's only chayiv if he eats it b'chdei achilas pras. B'chdei achilas pras is a half a loaf of bread. Whatever the period of time is, 3 to 9 minutes, they say. I even heard somebody say 2 minutes, whatever. 3 to 9 minutes. All right, we had it by Beis HaMenuga. A guy goes in with his clothing, tummy, not tummy, for the period of time that he eats a half a loaf of bread. So the only time you get malchus if you eat the smoothie with a kazayis of garlic in it, which is truma, is if you eat the full kazayis of that garlic within 3 to 9 minutes, whatever it takes you to eat 4 eggs worth. Like, what do we say, 2 sandwiches? Whatever it was. Okay, half a loaf of bread. So what am I telling you? That if you do eat a kazayis, b'chdei achilas pras, in 3 to 9 minutes, you get malchus. You don't get malchus in a derabanan. That must be a da'iraisa. So this idea of eating it within b'chdei achilas pras is a da'iraisa. As the Gemara, ukazayis b'chdei achilas pras da'iraisi? What? It's halacha Moshe Sinai. Moshe Rabbeinu came and said, this is, 3 to 9 minutes. He said on Har Sinai, you have to eat it within 3 minutes. Is that what happened? Yeah. In fact, when he came down from Sinai, on Sinai, he said this halacha. He threw it out there. You have to eat it within a certain amount of time. So I got you in a corner. I got you to admit that this was given from Moshe Rabbeinu, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, directly by Matan Torah. It's not something Chacham made up. So if so, I have another problem. Amai pligi, Rabbanan alei de Rebbe Eliezer b'kutach habavli. If you missed it, could I to go back? We can't do 2 foods in 1 week. That's why I'm not doing blender today. We made this gewaldig. Somebody wrote me. I think it was Yisroel Ausfresser actually. Imam got nauseated watching it. Everybody, calm down. It wasn't rotten milk. Baruch Hashem that some of the Eilim believed it. This green, rotten, 6-month-old milk, together with moldy challah bread, broken in pieces. The Mishnah says that it has chametz in it, you can't eat it. Frag the Gemara, and what is that called? Ta'roives chametz, a mixture of chametz. Amai pligi Rabbanan alei de Rebbe Eliezer b'kutach habavli. Why do Rabbanan say that this ta'roives? Look at the bread here. Obviously, it goes into a blender afterwards, and you don't see the bread. Geschmacka blender, the whole thing. And then you make a strawberry smoothie, it has that nice and tam of gam in it, it's all good. Says the Gemara, so how can you argue on this? You're telling me it's a da'iraisa if you eat it with it, the garlic is crushed into the smoothie, you're over. And bread crushed into the kutach smoothie, why are you not over? Why is that not chametz in a kutach smoothie? What's the difference? Truma in a smoothie or chametz in a smoothie? They're both broken up. You can't tell. You can't discern the bread, but it's there. So too the truma. Elamai mishum dehetem. It's tarif liser. Okay. So what do you want me to do? You want me to retract and say that it's not because of that you ate a kazayas within achilas pras, because that would be a problem. You want to tell me that the reason why you chayiv on a garlic in a smoothie is because the smoothie and the garlic come together. So say the same thing by kutach bavli. At the end of the day, you have a heter mitzaref l'isser. At the end of the day, a kutach bavli should be also according to everybody. Either it's a halacha mishim Sinai that this is the shir, or it's heter mitzaref. Fine. Let's talk to Gemara. Elo hanach lekutach bavli. This is the obvious answer. There are those who even ask, what was the question? Hanach lekutach bavli the lesbe kazayis v'chdei achilas pras. Which mishogana is going to eat a kazayis of not a kazayis, the entire thing you have to eat. Even my niece who ate gala, she's the most mafunic person in the world, for $5,000, would not eat this. I guarantee you. This kutach she wouldn't eat for $5,000. The guy paid her. He paid her, mamish. For gala. She wanted to get up and walk off the Shabbos table. So he said, listen, if you eat it, $5,000. She couldn't say no in front of her new husband. $5,000. The guy almost fell off his chair. Didn't realize that, whatever, $5,000 for her. Anyway, so she ate it. This, nobody would eat. The entire thing, to chuck it down, besides you said you were going to eat it. Yosef said, on Motzei Shabbos, somebody offered him $100. He wasn't sure. He was going to eat it. So, if he eats, he chucks the whole thing down, because somebody gave him money. He's not a normal human being. Says Rashi, it's not considered an achila. It's not even achila. And if he eats it normally, like you do at a meal, you dip a little here, a little there. You know how long it'll take you to finish the whole thing in order to eat the full kazayas of bread? 25 minutes at least, and that's past the 9-minute limit that you have. Less bay, you don't have kazayas pras. And Rashi sticks in there. The other things in the Mishnah, the same thing. What about beer? Beer from Madai. Beer from Madai, that's really made, in those days they made beer out of dates, and then they threw in a little chametz. So if you drink the whole thing, you're not going to get a kazayis. There's not a kazayis of chametz in there, says Rashi. Eisvei, so Abai continues to ask questions here. Two very, almost identical questions, and very simple ones. Eisvei, by the way, I just want to tell the Olam, not that this is a hard sugya, but tomorrow we're going to finish up the sugya, and then we go for 2 weeks of easy gewaldika, agadata, and easy stuff for 2 weeks straight. Just letting you know. Eisvei, shtei kedeiros achas shechulim v'achas truma. Here's the story. Rabbi says simple stuff. You have 2 pots. One is chulin, one is truma. You cannot eat from this. You could eat from this. Right in front of the pots, you have 2 mortars. Pestle, whatever you call it. Silent T, not silent T, the whole thing. What? Pestle, silent T. 2 of them. One is truma, one is chulin. I just mixed them up on purpose to make it a little bit more interesting. The blue against the red against the blue. The spices from the mortar fall into the pots. We don't know which one fell into what. What's the halacha? What would you say the halacha is? You don't know. You find your baby took it, emptied it out into one of the pots. You have no idea if the truma went into the chulin or not. Halacha is you could eat it. What does that tell me? That's only the Rabbanan l'chayra. If the isser of eating something, a kazayis, within 9 minutes is halacha Moshe Messinai, how can you make a heter for that? What kind of heter do you have to say, mistama the baby knew to put the blue in the blue and the red in the red? That could only be a spara in a derabana, not in a deraisa. And one fell into the other. Mutarid. Unbelievable. I'll just guess that the truma fell into the truma. That's what I feel like saying. And I would love to say that the chulin fell into the chulin, and therefore it's mutar. And if you tell me this whole concept that eating a kazayis that's mixed in, these spices mixed into the whole pot, and if I eat it within 9 minutes, I'm chayiv misa. A person eats truma and gets misa b'dei shamayim. On a misa, you're going to tell me that l'chayra, I have to guess that the chulin fell into the chulin. You don't mess around with misa. So the answer is l'chayra that it's not a deraisa. We're eating within 9 minutes. You told me it's halacha mishmazina. L'chayra not. That's a bais kasha. Not a good kasha. Hanach trumas tavlin derabanan. You don't have to give truma on vegetables. Truma is only on 3 things: dagan, tirish, v'yitzar. Wheat, oil, and grapes. Tirish, grapes, yitzar, oil. That's it. The rest, okay, and even according to those, so we're talking about vegetables you don't have to give in this story. Next question, identical, just slightly different, with a little variation. Again, you have 2 boxes, pretend these are boxes, not pots. So again, over here, the only difference is that we're talking about wheat. Wheat and wheat. What do we gain by talking about wheat? Because wheat is midaraisa, so I don't have that answer. I just said that to give truma is the rabbanan. So right in front of them are another 2 giant boxes of wheat, and the wheat fell into the wheat, and the wheat fell into the wheat. So what am I going to say? Again, the truma fell into the truma, the chulin fell into the chulin, and everything, Shalom Yisrael, you could eat whatever you want. Everything's mutter. But over here, I don't have the answer, the tchiyah that we had before, that we're talking about at the Rabbanan. Why would I say that? It's a deraisa. How could I assume anything? I do have an answer. Because the whole truma, b'zman hazeh, we're not talking about it in time of the Mikdash. B'zman hazeh, it's the Rabbanan. So meila, I can make a kula. Zog the Gemara, by Mishras lahachi udaso. You're telling me that the word Mishras comes to teach me the Isser and Heter, the combination. That if I have a piece of bread and 2 grapes, they combine for kazayas. I need it for another thing. Mishras, turning to that, Amud Beis, sponsored by Gedalia Fenster, L'Refuah Shleima of his son, 40-year-old son, Rabbi, say some Tehillim. Yerachmiel Daniel ben Tova Basha. Oh, here are the scary words. Litein tam ki'ikr. The word Mishras comes to teach us another unbelievable, beautiful halacha, tam ki'ikr. If I take grapes, I was searching for grapes, I just ran out of grapes, and Yeshua couldn't find me grapes today. Take grapes, you put them in a cup of water, pull the grapes out, you taste the water a little bit. It tastes like grapes. The entire water becomes grapes, says Rashi. Showing him how to learn it. Rashi says it becomes grapes. This is a shtick grape. And I'm a nazir, and I just ate a kazayas of grapes. I turned this, not a revius, a kazayas, I turned this into kazayas. If I consume this water, I'm chayiv malchus. Because this water just turned into grapes. Tam keker. The tam, the flavor becomes like the actual thing. Huh? Yeah, if you don't taste, not. Tam ke'ikr. Shalom Aleichem, Joe Berry. I know we're no way. Andrew Glatz, Rabbi Yisai, everybody stand up, get out of your seats, say Shalom Aleichem to Andrew Glatz. First of all, Amokim Menachem Eschem, Seisha Avelitzim Yerushalayim. He just lost his... Because his mother was very sick. I don't remember anymore. What was it? Father. I knew I shouldn't say right away, yeah. Who's? Avi's father. Avi, come ask you, your father's on?
Yeah, I see him.
Wow. Shalom Aleichem, Mr. Kamiansky. All your sons are on and they're very proud of you. Stick it out. It's beautiful stuff. Anyways, lead the time kicker. So we have 10 minutes to do this amazing Amud. Way much. What we're going to do, we should pull out the blender, Rabbi Yisai. We have some extra time. Litin tam kicker. Shimshara novim b'mayim v'yeshbem tam yayin. As long as the water has the flavor of wine, chayiv, because the water turns into grapes. Says the Gemara, Mikanat adon l'kol haTorah kula. You take this halacha and bring it to the entire Torah. That what? Ma nazir shein isura isur olam. There are 3 things, very simple things. A nazir doesn't last forever. How long? If a person says, I'm going to refrain from wine, he doesn't say for how long. Shkoyach. Here we go. If you do this, that's it. This is Esroigim after Sukkot. But you get the idea. No, it's supposed to have food flavoring. I had a whole thing going here. Okay, listen, we'll use the next cycle.
Don't put that in the ninja, okay?
What?
Don't put that in the ninja.
Don't put it in the ninja. Isser Olam. A nazir does not have these 3 things. A nazir doesn't last forever. If he doesn't specify he wants to be 3-4 months, it goes automatically to 30 days. So it doesn't last forever. In other words, it's a kula. A nazir who owns a vineyard could sell the wine, could sell the grapes. There's no isra ana. A nazir could walk over to the rabbi and say, Rabbi, I made a mistake. I didn't realize what a terrible thing. I need to get drunk. I'm Purim. Help me out here. And the rabbi says, okay, you're not a nazir anymore. So a nazir doesn't have these 3 things. Yet also by tam ki'ikr. And the Torah says from the word mishras. Mishras again. I'm not learning from mishras that I can combine a half a piece of bread with the grapes. I'm learning that tam ki'ikr. That if I put, we're in the middle of the sugi. Why am I saying we can use this? If I put the grapes into this water, then the water turns into grapes, and this becomes an isser. So If that happens by a nazir, it should happen in all of the Torah. So for instance, if I have a piece of arla, I have a tree that's 2 years old, let's call it 4 years old. Tosfos goes into it because he asks a very obvious question, says, Tom says 4 years old, fine. 2-year-old tree, 4-year-old tree. And I take some of those grapes from the arla tree, from the vineyard, and I squeeze it into my food. Tam kicker. If I could taste the grapes on my bread, then the bread turns into a grape. What kind of grape? Arla grape. Before we're talking about a nazir, so if it goes by nazir, it should also work by other isurim in the Torah. Let's go by the tam. Kilayim. She isura yisraelam, vi isura yisrael vein heter li isuroi. Kilayim. If I plant wheat in my vineyard, then the entire vineyard becomes asur forever. And I can't go to a rabbi and say, hey, I want to use the vineyard, it's not going to help. And it lasts forever. And it's asur bahana, it has all these three things. So certainly the flavor that you part from the grapes should be ki'ikr, it should be like a grape. The flavor should make a grape. And then she has a tam ki'ikr. Vuadin says the Gemara la'arla, a fruit on a tree, they're less than 4 years old, bishtayim. You only have these two, isser hana and heter le'isser. You cannot go to a rabbi and you cannot use it. But this you don't have. Isser arla, isser la'ilam you don't have. Why? Because a tree, not the fruit, asks Tosfos, but the tree, after 3 years, is mutter. Any fruit that grows off that tree, which I don't understand 100%, ayin and Tosfos. Hamani. So the question is, I'm using up mishras for something else completely to tell me this idea of tam ki'ikar, that the flavor is like the actual thing. I could create new actual isurim. Hamani Rabbanon. Rabbanon don't hold of heter mitzdaref l'isur. So Memela, they don't learn that first Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says that a piece of bread and grapes are mitzdaref. They don't hold of that. And Memela, they use it for mishras. They use the mishras for tam ki'ikar. Says the Gemara of Rabbi Yochanan. However, Rabbi Yochanan says that a piece of bread, where was that guy? A piece of bread together with grapes is asur. They combine together. He doesn't hold like Rabbanan. Damak Rabbi Kiva. It's good enough. He has somebody to rely on. Rabbi Kiva. Hey Rabbi Kiva, which Rabbi Kiva? Eli Rabbi Kiva, the Masnisin. There's a Mishnah in Nazir, this not. Rabbi Kiva, Oimer Nazir Sheshor Pita Beyayin, Beish Boilet Tzaref Kidei Kizayis Chayav. If a Nazir soaks his entire bread in wine, and together it's a Kizayis, he's Chayav. So you see that you could take bread, soak it in wine, and together you have a Kizayis. Says the Gemara, who told you that's the case? That the wine together with the bread equal to Kizayis. Dilma minyayin l'chudei. Maybe there's so much wine soaked in the bread that there's a full Kizayis of wine. And memela, that's why it's usher in that case. No. So what's the obvious question? Then what's the chiddush? If he takes a whole bottle of wine, pours it into the bread, and eats the bread, of course he's chayiv. He just drank a bottle of wine. The answer is no. It's a big chiddush because you don't see it. It's absorbed in the bread. And the chiddush is, if you eat the bread and you don't see the wine, but there's a whole kazayis of wine in there, you're chayiv. What's the chiddush? Even though it's mixed in there, you don't see it. It's not nicker, you're still over. Elo, Rabbi Kiva the Braiso. This sign, Rabbi Kiva Oimer. I want to demonstrate. Why? Stam. Well, a nace, I didn't make a smoothie today. Here we got wine. Here we got bread. And we have a bowl. It better not get on my Gemara. So you take some wine, and you fill up a bowl. You're a Nazir. Geschmack of wine. This is the best stuff. Remember when we used to drink that stuff? Before Leon spoiled me with Castel. It's not Leon's fault. Take challah, and you dip it into the wine. Now look what happens. Rabbi said, look what happens. This wine right over here only goes up to here. This wine is not a kazayis. But together with the white part of the bread, it's a kazayis. It's a completely different situation over here. Yichap. You have a half a kazayis of wine from here down. I know it's not a kazayis because it can't even contain a kazayis. My piece of bread is not a kazayis. The whole thing is a kazayis. Together with the geshmaka piece of bread. Look, if I break it off, I don't have any wine here. Yet if I eat it together with the wine, it's as if I ate a full kazayis of wine. Geshmak, if any, Yosef, $3 if you eat this. Zok the Gemara. Now, if Rashi points out, if the wine was in the entire bread, nobody would argue on that. There's a full kazayis here. And they hold tam keikar, that the flavor imparts into the bread, and you have a whole kazayis here. The whole bread becomes a shtick wine. So the Gemara. Rebbe Kiva Omer Nazir Sheshara Pita B'Yayin V'Acha the sign. Rebbe Kiva Omer Nazir Sheshara, and you see beautiful Sheshara. What does that sound like? The word mishras, soaking. That's in the pasuk. That's the case. Sheshara Pita B'Yayin V'Acha Kazayis Mipas Umiyayin, and the bread has one part that's bread, one part is soaked in bread. Together they become a kazayis and the chayiv. Rebbe Kiva, tam kikr minole. Rebbe Kiva, we just learned, what does Rebbe Kiva do with the pasuk? To teach us the tziruf. Wine and bread are mitzdarif. So he uses the word mishras. You can only use the word mishras once. Pick and choose. He uses it for tziruf, a combination of bread and wine. So how does he know the idea, the first words on today's Amud? On Amud Beis, tam keker, that flavor imparted into water, into anything, becomes a shtick of that thing. Says the Gemara, Minole, Yolev mebasa b'chalav. He learns it from milk and meat. Lav tam b'almuhu v'aser. When you remove the meat from the milk, you don't have milk in there. You don't see the milk at least, but you have the flavor of the milk, and that's what makes it aser v'aser. Hachanami lo yishna. And I can't learn from basa b'chalav. Why the chidushu? So once basa b'chalav is a special chidush, you can't take that yisoid and bring it to the rest of the Torah. Oh, it's something. What's so special about basa b'chalav? Because each one individual, you could eat milk all day long, you could eat steaks all day long, but when you combine the two, they become asur. That's the big chidush. It's not like a nevela that the whole entire nevela is always asur. What about shatnez, wool and linen? Wool suit is perfect. Linen suit is a terrible thing. I don't recommend it, but it's perfect. Combine the two, it becomes aser. So the idea is the old idea, it's not a big chiddush. So what's the big chiddush? You take meat and soak it in milk the entire day. And the milk becomes, the meat tastes like milk. You hear what's going on here? You could eat that meat. You're allowed to eat milk. You're allowed to eat meat with milk. Midoraisa. Okay, Midorabanan, we're makbid today. But cold milk with cold meat, soaked all day long, mutter. The whole list in the Torah is loisevashel gdi b'chalevi moi. So that's a tremendous chiddush. It's not that there's milk in the meat, because then if there's milk in the meat, so even if you soak it, it's riyasa. So cooking it together with. The chef will tell you, sometimes you marinate something, it will be even stronger, the flavor will be stronger than cooking with it for 10 minutes. Bashule also, just cooking is also. Rebbe Kiva has to agree to this. So what's he going to do? When you buy a kli from a goy, Rashi says, Gu'ule is a lotion of meiki upoilet, to throw up, to impart. And that's why maybe in Hebrew we say magil. It's disgusting. It makes you vomit. But anyway, the point is, that's not what we're saying. It's really disgusting. Think about it. What this guy cooked in there all those years, PIG, mamish, thousands of pounds of PIG in there, and I buy from the guy, what's coming out of the pot? Why can't I use a goyish pot? Because there's a flavor of pig in there. Vaser. Nevertheless, it's not pshat, the pig goes into my meat. A little bit of flavor. So you see the tam kicker. And the Torah tells me that when you get the kelim from the midyanim, go and put it in boiling water if that's how they cooked it. Put it in a fire if they used it as whatever. You have to, okay. Why, and now we're going to say another word that's a very important word. The hal called noisen tam livgam mutter. It's not such a scary word. Tam livgam. Meaning, the flavor that it imparts is a terrible flavor. Old pig from 6 months ago, disgusting, smelly, unrefrigerated. You took your pot, put it in a closet. How good could that be? It's disgusting. And when it's disgusting, you're not over. Tam livgam. The Gamrilim Nevela, we learn from the Nevela that what? It has to be ra'ui to give to a ger. You take the Nevela, the dead carcass, you're supposed to give it to a guy, but you give it to the ger. Guy that is accepting par mitzvahs, but it has a good flavor. Something that the guy will take from you. So the chiddush is that you cannot rely on this heter that it's disgusting. You still have to be do hagolas kelim to be maflit the pig from it. So that's the chiddush. Why do I have to do hagolas kelim? It's disgusting flavor. So he says, no, the whole Isser was when it's 1 day old and it has a geschmacka flavor still of pig. That's the Isser. But there's no problem if it's 3 days old. You don't have to do hagolas kelim. It's not. It doesn't give any flavor because it's only 1 day old. It's impossible, says the Gemara, that if a guy cooked pig in the morning and you bought the pot from him in a garage sale, 3 hours later, it's going to give you a spoiled taste. It's 3 hours old. There's a little bit of nice nalgam. So the fact that I have to do hagolas kelim is a tremendous chiddush. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Shir Malois. שומרים לבויקר, שומרים לבויקר. יחיאל ישראל אדוני גיבן לנו החסד, והרבה ימי פדוס. ובדי ישראל וקרא בן יוסף, וכן גבוס ישראל לנזום בצור בשיב. והוא מדבר ביום וביישום, אוקיי, אנחנו נזום... שתו, פגע לו בזמן קוריב, ונאמר אמן. Wow, what a simcha to see. Rabbi Isai, to see Andrew Glatz. Yom Tov, Rabbi Yaakov. I can't believe that Andrew Glatz is on. Gewaldige stuff. I don't see everybody in Zoom. I could only look at it for a second. Sorry. How you doing, Tzaddik? You doing okay? Andrew. How's your mom doing? Are you serious? Yeah. From COVID? From COVID? Ramosha Tzvi Dauber, long time no see. Another Chicagoan. What's up with the Chicagoans today?
He's on every day.
Ramosha Tzvi is on every day? Oh, Andrew. I can't hear. Could you shut that? I didn't even think about that. That's very interesting. What if a person listens to it slower? Very interesting, Shaila.
I won't tell anyone which part it is. I'll share it with you later. It's all on YouTube, by the way, yesterday. You have to share Shmooze. The whole thing was on YouTube. In the middle, you're still on YouTube?
What, Yosef, I was wondering because it doesn't look good when it says over an hour. It's an hour and 1 minute. That's the pshat? The whole YouTube is on?
That's why you have to see the timestamp. The Shmooze. They go 15 minutes of Shmooze. Could you not?
No, wasn't that Gevaldik today's email? The guy says everything, the leilui nishmas, the emails, everything. He enjoys the whole thing. No, I wanted the noise. They complain about what? Hey, Gedalia, good morning, good morning. Bentzi Novak is on. Bentzi Novak. Eli Trapper's on. Wow. Eli Trapper. What time is it?
Over 100 people. And the magazine is sitting in RBS. We go, who's this? Stefansky? Right next to him, like, oh yeah, I listen to him every night. So, it's unbelievable how many people I speak to, they'll tell me how they do, who listens to the share.
Shkoyach, Rabbi Kiva. Thanks. Appreciate it. Mati, did you see your stories brought down in the Orha Merkaz this week? Did you even notice that?
No, I didn't see it. I printed it.
Oh, but you heard about it. Okay, you heard about it. It's such a cliffhanger that the continuation is next week. The punchline of Mati Middeldorf is next week.